People don't want to be on camera is a big one. They don't want their face out there all the time, or people thinking that they're an egomaniac because every post is about them.
That if the results aren't great, here's your client insisting on stuff that's not going to perform. It kind of sucks. How it just starts as an idea, and then it's like, you make a brand, and then you put colors around it, and you had a tagline, and then you start a podcast.
I don't enjoy doing my accounting. I hired an accountant, but I still have to be aware of what's going on. I tell clients social media is like making soup. We're putting all the ingredients in to make a totality of something. And so people judge each individual post or reel so much when they're making a body of work.
Hey, it's me, Coach B. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Breakthrough. We are going to be talking about a topic that, frankly, a couple decades ago was not even a thing in the real estate industry. And now it's kind of table stakes. If you're not participating in this, then you're really not keeping up with the times. And that is, of course, social media. Now, it's very interesting when you hear people say things like, hey, it's not personal, it's business. Well, last I checked, we put our faces and names on everything as realtors. So it's kind of hard to say it's not personal when it's your mugshot and your personal name on a sign when your clients hire you. But social media is also an extension of our personality. And as much as, a lot of us run social media accounts and strategies to try to generate clients, and it's very much a lead generation tool for us. It's one of those things that's really hard to let go of. And there's a great metaphor in the interview that you're going to hear with Katie Dempsey, the owner, operator, and lead strategist at Brand Ambition. Now, Katie has actually been running my social media for me for over 2 years, and her team at Brand Ambition have done a variety of other things, including creating my logos, my branding, guides and things, my website, etc. But the main service that I rely heavily on is the social media management side. And in this conversation with Katie, we talk about how hard it is for us, personality-driven businesses to let go of something that feels so inherently personal. Katie gives us a lot of great insights into ways to baby step your way into social media management, how to set a social media manager up for success so they're not posting, frankly, lame stuff that you're not proud of seeing on your feed. And she's also giving us a blueprint on how to get started working with a social media manager, whether you're one of those people who only posts just listed and solds on their feed, or maybe someone who does post regularly with different content, but you don't have a strategy, or even the power users out there that have all the fancy camera gear and editing software and all of that. Even they could potentially benefit from a social media manager. And Katie lays all of that for us with much, much more. So let's get into the interview with Katie Dempsey from Brand Ambition. So when I said the title was going to be Confessions of a Social Media Manager, are you here to spill all the tea, or like what?
We keep our secrets pretty tight.
Well, I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to kind of walk this path with you, because it's been a journey. You and I have been on a journey now. I can't remember the exact month that we started working together, but it's
January
of 2020.
That's when we started posting for you.
Okay. Yeah. In my mind, it's been at least 2 years.
Yeah.
And you might describe it as 2 painstaking, years of agony, but it's been 2 great years from my perspective. And I just thought, because it's one of the things I get asked the most about. People will say complimentary things about our social media, and it's interesting. I think the consistency piece is the part that no one actually says it like that, but I think when I pull back the layers, it's like it's the fact that we're posting every day for 2 years straight. That just like critical mass, just people are seeing our stuff, which is cool.
It creates a sense of reliability, I think, too, which is a very subtle feeling. But people, they're like, oh, there he is again. He's still doing it.
Doing it. Yeah. So I get a lot of questions about that. And then it's funny when I say, oh, actually, like, I have an amazing team that helps me with it. And one person in particular, my social media manager, Katie. And I can see that wasn't the answer that people wanted. They want to know what killer app I'm using, or like, what are my tips for, batch content, create this or that. Because when I tell them someone else is doing it for me, it's not that they don't like the idea of that. It's that it's freaking scary when it comes to your social media, because it is, they say, oh, it's not personal, it's business. Well, in real estate, we put our freaking face on everything. So it feels pretty damn personal.
Yeah, I think that's also a reflection, though, that a lot of people do think you're doing it yourself.
Mhm.
So, for people who are nervous about that, that their clients or their friends or family will think that someone else is doing it for them, and that that's somehow a negative, is like a lot of people will just assume that it's you just doing a great job.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree.
Yeah,
So that's the conversation I wanted to have today, is kind of just like getting a sense of not really like tips and tricks, although if we have time, we will talk a little bit about that, but like really just like the
sure.
process of, as you know, our mantra for the breakthrough method is let go to grow. And letting go of social media is a scary thing for many of us. And it was scary for me at the beginning, but I wanted to kind of get your perspective, because you help, I know, a lot of real estate agents. You're not specifically just working with realtors, but you do have, I'd say a specialty for that.
Hmm.
Um, but just from a let's get to know Katie a little bit more. Can you give us a little bit more of your background and how Brand Ambition came about, and how the hell did we meet?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I actually, this is my own company. We started it 9 years ago. I was working with a really large wellness center, and it closed down very suddenly, and all the professionals were displaced. And I was the marketing coordinator there. So a lot of them were coming to me like, oh my gosh, how do I get my own social up? How do I get my own website? Like all of those things. So I actually got my start with those initial, I guess you could call them clients who I helped, because I was also suddenly jobless. And that was actually the start of the company. But very quickly, we moved to working with a lot of real estate agents. It was just the right time, I think, with social media coming out and so many agents realizing that they could have their own voice and really be in charge of their own marketing, not having to rely on the brokerage to talk to connect them with clients.
Mhm.
And so a lot of agents jumped onto social and personal branding and all of that stuff at that time. So that's how we kind of got our start with realtors specifically.
Yeah, and I'm curious how, like, of your current book of business now, like, what would you say is real estate industry related versus everything else?
Depending on the time of year and, going into spring market or when everybody gets those spring market checks. But I would say we're like anywhere from 40 to 60% realtors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I know you have members of your team, it seems to me anyways, that almost exclusively work with realtors. So there's
Yeah.
like definitely a level of like they know what they're talking about. They get the industry.
Yeah, for sure. It's my personal favorite just because we've worked with them so long. There's so many options, there's so many customizations. So it's actually
Yeah.
my personal favorite industry to work in. So
Yeah,
lots
that's
of
awesome.
personalities.
And we do you remember how we met?
I think we met through RRI.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were helping Rich and Sue with social media for, I think it was an event, and I was
Yep.
there taking photos, and they connected us. And
Yeah.
I haven't left you alone since, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the process of letting go, and obviously the struggle to let go. But I'm curious from your perspective, like what what would you wish, like, if we could bottle it and give it to people to, I don't know, 2 ounces of Brand Ambition tequila before they talk to you, and like they just know and trust the process. Like, what would you want them to notice or to comfort their nerves around having someone else do their social media?
um, I think I want to tell people that um like the trust element is the most important. Like you're a human person and I'm a human person and we're going to work together on this thing. And
Mhm.
sometimes you may not perform perfectly and sometimes I may not perform perfectly, but together we both are going to love this project
Mhm.
and drive it forward. So I feel like sometimes people think when they are purchasing social media that they're going to buy a service and walk away. And
Yeah.
really, this is a collaboration. Like we're working together. You're adding me onto your team and you're
Mhm.
going to be a leader and I'm going to lead sometimes where when I have the knowledge, but we're going to work together.
Yeah.
And so I think that creates a foundation of trust where um we're going to get the best results.
Would you say, because I don't want to bias you, but it's probably my answer to this question. Like the biggest mistake that people make or agents make when they're hiring a social media agency or manager is that they think it's set it and forget it.
Yeah.
And I hear that because I've even had people who have worked with you that were like, oh man, I still have to do these things, and I'm like, yeah, of course. Like here's my blueprint, which we'll talk about a little bit today. But like,
Yeah.
is that the biggest mistake you think, or the biggest misconception that agents have?
Yeah, and I think there's a tendency to think that people who hire out social media are people who just don't like doing it. And so they think, oh, I'll just have someone else do this and never think about it again.
Mm,
But I mean, I don't enjoy doing my accounting. I hired an accountant, but I still have to be aware of what's going on. They still need my receipts. Like there's
yeah.
still a certain element of participation that needs to happen there. Though, if you are working with a professional, we can really bring that down and I can make it like 1 to 2 hours a month or whatever you really need. We can get it down there so that it's very focused time that you're committing to it.
I don't know why I had never thought of it like that, but that is I'm forever now going to explain it. It's like your bookkeeper. You can't, you like literally, no disrespect to you, Katie, because you're the team captain, but the team MVP is Joan, our bookkeeper.
Mhm.
It, as Joan entered my world became a lot happier. But I still, even though she's amazing, she'd worked for CRA, she's way overqualified. Like she just got bored in retirement, and I happened to just get lucky to meet her. Despite all of her amazing talent and experience, I still need to write on the back of the receipt or take the photo into QuickBooks. Like she can't read my mind,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And if I had to do my own bookkeeping, it's probably 10 hours a month, but she can help me do it in an hour a month. And you're
Yeah.
absolutely right with the social side of things.
Hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. When you have your discovery calls with people, what do you find is the reluctance that they have? Like what are, like, if we were to do a brainstorm of all of the things that you hear on those calls, what comes up?
People don't want to be on camera is a big one. They don't want their face out there all the time, or people thinking that they're an egomaniac because every post is about them. So those are big fears that we kind of try to get over in that first call.
Can we do the antidotes to those?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
let's start with camera confidence. What do you say to that?
I try to baby step people into it. If you could do a controlled photo shoot, I think that's a great exercise because you can pick the photos that you're okay with. You know what I mean? And also, when you do a photo shoot, we don't want to get a whole bunch of photos of just your face, which is going to amplify that fear and that concern that every post is about you. So we like to pull back the camera and make the image about where you are and what you're doing, or maybe it's a close up of your hands writing a note, and so it's the camera's not right up in your face. So
Hmm.
there's little baby steps that we could take to get people slowly more comfortable with being on camera.
Hmm.
But also, we don't make your social media just about you. It can be about the neighborhoods that you're in, the businesses that you work in, your network, the kind of ideal client that you're trying to work with.
Hmm.
So we actually want to bring in more of those elements. And so not every single post even should be about you.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, this is going to be a dated reference because this episode will come out probably 2 months after this post, or a month after this post. But like literally yesterday, you posted a hilarious throwaway video of me, and I checked the stats this morning, and you called it. It's already like had more views than some of the stuff that seems more polished.
Yeah.
And so I think there's room for also people when they think video on camera. I find they either thinking they have to do dances on TikTok,
Yeah.
or they have to be like talking head, dropping knowledge bombs left and right. But there's actually this whole other subsection of video, which we broadly call like B-roll or clips and stuff. And I'm just curious, like that seems to me like a great entry point for someone to get on camera without some of the fears around it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I totally agree. If someone is a beginner, rarely do I have them talk to the camera. And I have to say, if you are speaking to camera, that's usually a clip we can use one time in one way.
Yeah.
But if we have a generic video of you getting out of your car or answering your phone, and we put that with just, trending music that's available on Instagram, now we can make that post about anything, whether it's customer service or a new store that's opening in town. So
Yeah.
the B-roll clips, the really simple ones where you're not talking, are actually much more usable and flexible anyway.
I love that. So you mentioned right off the top, there was three hesitations. One was video. The other, I think I caught the first and last one. You said you mentioned like ego and whatnot. What was the middle one?
Just people being concerned that it's going to be all about them all the time.
Right. And you're saying that, in a content strategy, it's not going to be all about them.
No, we want to make it about the neighborhoods, the kind of clients that you serve, the style of selling that you have.
Yeah.
Some people are very tough, aggressive negotiators, and some people are very soft who are going to be fantastic taking clients through their 12th home that they want to look at, right? So whatever your strengths are, that's what we want to be talking about.
Well, can you maybe shed some light on the process of how do you unearth that? Because that's the fear I hear from agents is like, oh, this one person manages 10 other realtors, and on Groundhog's Day they're going to post this cartoony image of a groundhog with a Remax balloon on it. It's going to be the same for all 10 accounts, and that's lame, and I don't want to be like everyone else.
Yeah.
How do you get to know those 10 people that some people are hard driving negotiators and other people are super involved in their community? Like, what's that process like?
Yeah. Our agency, we actually do all of our posts are custom anyways, which not all social media agencies will do that. So you're not getting necessarily a generic Groundhog Day post. But
unless you want one. Unless you
unless you want
groundhogs with Remax balloons on them. Yeah.
Yeah. But we look at the agent's personality. So again, are they like soft and into interior design and colors, or are they like an aggressive A-type person who's out there getting the best deal? So right there, you already have two very different threads that you can go down in terms of content. And then I also sort of divide that by who's their ideal client. So are they working with young families and everything needs to be family focused and kind of about kids and backyards and pets? Or are they selling downtown condos and everything needs to be like, crisp and refined and sharp looking? So you get so much diversity once you start thinking about the actual marketing plan of this person.
And could you give us like the 1, 2, 3 step? Like I imagine there's a discovery call, and whether or not we're going to work together, you probably glean information from that. What happens after I hire you? Like, do I do an intake form or something, or what does that look like?
Yeah, we'll usually do like some kind of a questionnaire, which is more about accountability. So like if you say these are the things that you want and we build a plan around it, I kind of don't want you to change your mind 2 weeks later. So sometimes the intake form is about accountability.
That felt like a personal shot to me. I
Never.
think I change the plan every 3 weeks, not 2 weeks, for the record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But usually we'll do something like a mood board. So we'll send some sample posts, some sample colors, some ideas to you to get a status check if we're going in the right direction. And some ideas about the kind of content that we'll be posting so that we can kind of pinpoint what kind of client you're going to be. And that always gets refined. So we're always paying attention to what you edit, what you change, what kind of content's not working. And so we're always adapting to that. So it's a very like your brand and your personal identity online is always growing and evolving.
Yeah. And I can speak to that personally. I don't know if you remember this, but the brand that your team has created for me is not the first iteration. And in fact, when you guys, when your team sent me the first version, I remember looking at it and going, wow, that is really pretty. It's like a house I want to live in, but it doesn't actually feel like me. It was like too sophisticated and too cool and just too like, I don't know. Like I said, it reminded me of like a really cool mid-century modern house with all the house plants and stuff. And like, I definitely love the design. I'm like, if this was any other company, I'd probably buy my coffee or whatever from this company, but it didn't feel like me. And your team took that feedback, did a total 180 in a good way, and now we have a brand that, like, as soon as I saw the second version of it, I was like, oh, I actually feel like that's me. It's bold,
Yeah.
it's punchy, it's this, it's that.
Yeah.
And of course we've iterated since, but yeah, it was a really interesting process to go through.
Yeah, I think that's great to have a starting point with your brand as well, which should reflect you and your sales style and things like that. In your case, it's your presentation style. So we wanted to match that. But it's a living, breathing thing. So it's okay if you add a color, you change something, or it starts to evolve over time to reflect the changes that are going to happen in your business. But
Yeah.
it at least gives you a guideline for consistency so that every day you're not showing up as something totally different for your clients.
Yeah.
It's a very confusing experience.
So right now we're just trying to coax along the reluctant realtors who are listening to this or watching this and saying, so, okay, so there's a discovery call, there's a mood board they get to see, there's iterations of it. There's a questionnaire. There's also I believe a content calendar. Is that right?
Yep. So we'll
Can we talk about
prepare
that?
once we kind of like agree on what the look is going to be. And if you have a very established brand, like we're not going to change that. We're going to build off so that it matches. But if you don't have a brand and you don't have kind of a visual identity, that's when the mood board is more important.
Mhm.
But then we go to a content calendar. So we create the graphics that we pull and curate the images and photography. We make the reels, we write the captions, and we show it to you. And you get an opportunity to edit or revise any part of it that you want to. And then once it's approved, that's when we take it to social and we start dripping it out. So it gives you control and oversight for people who are nervous that we're just going to post random things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And I, it's interesting because we're at a place now where on my personal brand account, I do not review a content calendar because I implicitly trust you. And then on the we've recently hired you for one of our brokerage accounts. And in that part there's like, okay, well, it's a different business. It's related to me, but it's different. And are getting a content calendar. And what I've noticed is, gosh, it's been maybe 6 months now. It's like the first month content calendar, there was a lot of, ooh, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. There was some good, and there's also some I don't know. And then the next month it was like there was a couple. And the month after that, there was one. And then, and all of a sudden now it's like 3 or 4 months later.
Yeah.
It's like there's no notes coming back. Like, how cool
Yeah.
is that, right? And I think that would be, chalk that up to one of those like mistakes or misconceptions that people have. Again, it's like I can empathize with someone if they're going to pay thousands of dollars a month to an agency like yours. If they've never done it before, the expectation is, well, if I'm paying all this money, like, it should just be perfect from day one. And I would tell anybody who's in that frame of mind, like, that's just not how it works.
Yeah, and we get to know you and what you like and what you don't like, and also what performs well on your account. And I think at first, because people can be nervous, there
Hmm.
anything that is not exactly what they would post throws up red flags
Yeah,
too, right? So
totally.
everyone has to get used to the process. And I think if you don't feel confident doing your own social media, you may not feel confident managing someone to do your social media. So, like, there's still a learning curve that's involved.
Totally. If you're watching this episode, there's probably a pretty good chance you're looking to free up some more time to do what you love, both personally and professionally. But maybe you don't know where to start. Don't worry, we've got you covered. Our breakthrough method is designed to help you get 10 hours a week back every 90 days. And the first step towards your next breakthrough is completing our resource review to see where you're investing your time, money, and energy. We've created a free guide with instructions and a template for you to use to complete the resource review. You can grab a copy at bradenwecroft.com/resource or grab a link in the description down below. All right, let's get back into the episode. Yeah, it's one of the things that kind of revealed itself, further into the process of designing the Breakthrough Academy program was realizing that, we haven't branded it as a leadership program, but there's a lot of leadership concepts and developing leadership because you are working with a team, you are working with contractors, you're going from me to we, and that is not an easy thing to do if you've been death gripping and doing everything yourself for 5 years to 50 years, right?
Yeah.
So, like, there's some leadership development that has to happen for sure. um Is there anything else that you want to add on to the, struggling to let go of their social, from your perspective?
I don't think so, but I will double tap on that thought about leadership. Like when you hire a social media manager, the mentality should be that you're adding someone to your team, not that you are outsourcing a section of your business to never see or hear from it again. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
so like we want to collaborate with you. We want to talk to you. And if you have important dates and events and things that are happening in the future, if we have those opportunities to collaborate on it, like you're a leader, I'm a leader, and we're going to work together to create a project, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's such a healthier mentality. It's going to get better results.
For sure. Okay, I love that. So, I going back to the confessional side of a social media manager. I would love for anyone who is watching or listening to this to be able to set their future social media manager up for success. But I want to start first. What are the things that drive you crazy?
um, the things that drive us crazy. I think that that idea that we are not going to that you're not going to provide any content, but that I could still make a calendar that reflects you is very challenging. So it's
Say more
really
about that.
important.
What do you mean by that? Like, I'm giving you content.
Yeah. So I think people think that when they hire a social media manager that they don't have to be involved, that we are going to create the content. But if we don't have any photos or images of you and we don't have any video clips, we can't bring you into the process without you, you know? So we're kind of out in the woods. We end up using a lot of stock images or things, which doesn't build your personal brand.
No.
And so, to be honest, when I first start working with a company or a real estate agent who's getting social media for the first time, our first task is really setting up systems. How
Mm.
do you create content? How do you capture some photos and some video in your business in the least painful way possible? And then get that to me quickly and easily so I can amplify it and sort of multiply all the outcomes.
Can you maybe share some insight into what systems have worked for people? Like, what is your sort of off the shelf recommendation to the everyday realtor? Presumably, they're doing well enough to want to hire a social media manager. They're probably pretty busy. They've got the camera shyness piece. Like, how do you have you found to get traction with people?
I love to build a system on something that you're already doing. So, whatever steps already exist. So, for example, if you're hiring a videographer to come in and film a listing, anyways, maybe you pay a little extra and you get some B-roll shots of you wandering through the kitchen or opening up the pantry. And there's B-roll now that you can give to your social media
Oh, that is
manager
such a
really
good
easily.
suggestion. I suppose, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm not a managing broker. I just hang out with too many of them at my office. But make sure you ask for permission from the homeowner before you do that.
Yeah,
But that's assuming they're cool with it. What a great idea! You're already there.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. Okay. What
Um,
else have you seen work for people?
I think a big challenge is that people overthink the kind of content that we need. And again, going back to our earlier conversation, it doesn't need to be a talking head to camera.
Mhm.
Like sometimes it could be your dog or your cat laying in a sunbeam in the afternoon. And if you film that for 7 seconds, we can make something really a beautiful reel with trending audio, and all of the pet lovers that are in your network are going to engage and comment on that post. And
Mhm.
so just taking one little clip during the day of something that you're doing and messaging it off to your social media manager can change everything and make that content feel so, or that account feel so much more personal.
Yeah, that's right out of the Gary Vaynerchuk playbook, I think, where he talks about documenting, not creating, right? So,
Yeah.
I think you're at a probably a higher level when you're create like you're perfectly designing, you're booking a set, you've hired the media person, you're coming out and you've got certain things in mind. Like that's very much a creating process where it's like
Hmm.
just snapping that photo of your dog or cat is like you're just kind of going throughout your day and you're seeing things and
Yeah.
you're thinking like, even if you're out in the community at a park and it's a beautiful day, like, yeah, pull out your phone, grab a hopefully somewhat not shaky 10-second clip
Yeah.
of, you know, the beautiful sun hitting the cherry blossoms in your favorite park. And that's content.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, and I just want to say too, everything is a learning curve. If you drop thousands of dollars to do your first photo shoot, you're not going to be experienced at doing photo shoots. So after you get those photos back, you're going to be like, oh, I wish I'd done this. And why didn't someone tell me that I should have done that? And so you learn from the first one. So sometimes I caution agents about dropping a huge investment on the first thing they've ever done. Like start
Mm.
smaller, do a smaller shoot, maybe work with another a photographer who's earlier in their career and less expensive, or work with someone in your family until you feel like you know what you want to get out of it and you're more confident. And then that's when you can really make that bigger investment. And that's just good planning, I think,
Yeah.
for people who are learning as they go.
I love that. And from a you know, sending you things standpoint, what's the ideal system look like? Like, am I texting it? Am I sending it an email? Do I have a Google Drive that I drop things in? Like, what's the best way for me if I'm out and about and I happen to find 3 video clips that day? Which reminds me, I need to do a better job of that. So thank you for the reminder. How do you send stuff to you? Like, how does the team prefer it?
So ideally, we have a Google Drive or some kind of cloud storage folder. I think if you are a realtor with any kind of team, or if you are building a real estate team, this should be a critical piece of infrastructure anyways, is that you have that cloud storage where everyone can access it.
Mhm.
And that's you can have Google Drive on your phone as an app, and 2 buttons sort of upload anything that you want. Um, and so that's a really great tip for sharing. If you text, if you send them through Instagram, which beginners want to do, that's fine and we can work with it, but it does reduce the quality of the video. And so you end up with something that's grainier or shakier. And so the quality of your content comes down and maybe your reach a little bit. So your social media manager would rather get it in that cloud storage to preserve the quality level, but we're going to do what makes it happen. And so if you need to Instagram message me a video of your cat today, like that's what we're doing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And so, you know, I send you stuff periodically, or if I'm sending you all at once, like, is there a preference if I'm, you know, kind of dripping a video here and there to you and the team versus like, I'm going to go out and get, you know, maybe I've collected 30 videos throughout my month and then I'm going to send them all to you. Like, what's the workflow like?
um So I don't mind a photo dump. The only thing is if there's notes that need to go with it. So, for
Right.
example, if you are doing something with a collaborator or something like that, and they need to be tagged, and we need to know who that is. So sometimes if there's notes, that's something where an email is better. Just say, "Hey, I dropped 3 things in there. Here's the details you need to know,"
Right.
and you can voice memo that. Like we don't, we're easy to work with.
For sure. Yeah, and I know for a lot of my agent colleagues, like myself, we're better talkers than typers. So sometimes just the barrier that having to type an email or a text message to explain is enough friction to just not do it. Whereas a quick
Yeah.
voice note can be so handy.
Yeah. And for me, like baby steps, right? If you just put a photo dump in there of stuff from your camera roll and I have no information, at least I could follow up with you. Now I can message you and say, "Hey, whose dog is this? Is this your dog?"
Yeah.
So like don't let those little barriers stop you from the entire mission. Just do the parts you can do for now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, going back to that idea of getting to know the agents and their unique, you know, personality and whatnot is like 3 different realtors could all send you their cat laying in the sun. And the way that you would use that for those 3 different realtors could be very different. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like one could be a slow down Sunday post, you know, one could be a post about the weather, and another could be about purchasing a property that's going to be suitable for your pet, or having them not be in the house during open houses. You
Yeah,
could give tips like that. So
totally.
there's so many ideas we could do with just that one video.
Perfect. I love that. Now, we tend to be pretty type A, pretty control freaky in this business. You know, I think any agent who's achieved a level of success to the point where they're hiring someone in your position, they're probably pretty firm with the grip. I don't know if that's been your experience.
A little bit sometimes.
A little bit sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you find the line of striking the balance between me giving you feedback or giving you input, even because it's like, hey, I want to do this, and as the expert, that's probably not going to work, or it's not going to be optimal, or not going to be optimized. And you also know as the expert that if the results aren't great, like, it's kind of like that tension of like, oh, your job is on the line if social doesn't perform, and here's your client insisting on stuff that's not going to perform. It kind of sucks. Like, how do
Yeah.
you address that?
That goes back to that mentality of it being a team and we're working on this together, because I need to be able to tell you if what you're asking for is not going to work. And I also think it's important to keep your eye on the goal. So if the goal is to add new followers and we want to get content out in front of people who've never seen you before, then we have to post content that's going to be relevant for someone who doesn't know you. And that might be or feel slightly different from what you traditionally post.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to do a good job always. We want to brag about how well our clients are doing, so we're never going to mislead you or put out content that is going to make you look bad, but it may be outside your comfort zone. And so just like talking to each other a little bit about how to make those steps, I think is really important.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And also just from my own working experience with you, every once in a while I get a crazy idea and I'm like, hey, I want to do this thing. And you're like, yeah, sure, go for it. Like, I don't know that you've ever said don't.
Well, I think people are very, very careful with their social media, and they probably don't need to be that careful. Like you said, the video that we posted of you just like lazing back on a couch, it's clearly not professional video, and it's performing as well as anything that we would put a lot of work and effort into.
Yeah.
So I think there's some overthinking that can happen, and being creative is fine. I tell clients social media is like making soup. We're putting all the ingredients in to make a totality of something. And so people judge each individual post or reel so much when they're making a body of work.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's lots of room there for forgiveness.
So if you were to give us a little bit of the recipe, so to speak, for smooth collaboration from the realtor's perspective, it sounds to me like could I accomplish, not even necessarily best practice, but like pretty darn good. Like if I gave an hour a week to my social media, whatever, like whatever I'm doing to collaborate with my social media manager, is an hour a week enough? Is that too much? What do you think?
I think an hour a week is appropriate. So if we gave you a 2-week calendar, which shows all of your content, and then we had a half-hour phone call to talk about what was in the calendar, what could be in the next one. You could share any changes that you have. We could give you an assignment, like send me a video of your pet. So those are kind of the tasks we would do in that call, and that would be under an hour every 2 weeks.
Right, and that would typically give me output of posting 5 days a week.
Yep.
In a combination of reels and photos and carousels and all that stuff.
Yeah, going forward, we put a lot more emphasis on reels than we ever did before. Static posts, so if it's just an image and a caption, does not go in the Explore feed. It does not go out to new audiences, so your account will not be growing. So in terms of your ROI, if you're paying for social media, you really want to capitalize on that video component as much as you can.
Right.
And the video is also much more difficult for us to put into a calendar and share with you to approve. Like the work on the back end that we go through for client approval is significant. So for reels especially, if we can agree on ideas, or if we can send you something and say we're going to do something like this, that can speed up the process and give us more time to be engaging in your account and doing other activities that are going to benefit you, rather than doing a ton of admin work. So building that relationship with your social media manager so you trust each other, so that we can be creative on the spot or capitalize on a meme or trending audio, is really helpful.
For sure. And you mentioned caption, because we haven't really talked about that part yet. because that's also, I find, another area where it's like people have a heightened sensitivity to that, where like, that doesn't sound like me, I wouldn't say that. And I know that you make a lot of effort to try to sound like the client, um but sometimes you can. And I'm wondering, like, I personally don't think that is a good enough reason not to get the help that we need, especially because we're not social media experts often as agents. We're real estate experts.
Hmm.
Um, but I also can empathize with, it is your name on the account. Mine's at Braden Wheatcroft. Therefore, anything that comes through that account is ultimately my responsibility,
Yeah.
right? So how what's that dance like for the actual written word side of things?
If you're a person who likes to have a lot of control over the written caption in your posts, that's fine. Let's accept that for what it is. And so when I send you a content calendar, they are always editable. So you could hop in there and rewrite some of that caption yourself.
Oh,
It's
so the
much
content
faster.
calendar has captions in it as well.
Yes. Yeah. You pre approve the whole thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So you can edit the caption that's underneath it if the voice isn't right or there's a detail that's not quite correct.
Mhm.
I would say if you start spending more than 40 minutes on your calendar or you're editing too much, you have to start asking yourself, is this useful? Like,
Mm.
are you correcting inaccuracies or are you just making it in your own words needlessly?
Yeah,
So, I mean, you have to have your own level of self awareness when you're making edits to know how useful and productive it actually is.
yeah,
And I think one of the reasons a lot of people don't like social media management is because it steals so much of your time, right? Once
yeah,
you start making a post, now you're overthinking it or you get lost in doom scrolling. So if the
yeah.
object is to save time, like check for inaccuracies and then get out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would also say, and I hope I'm not alone, otherwise I'm gonna seem like the biggest narcissist of all time. But I notice I'm way more interested in the performance of posts that I do than posts that you do for me. So like my impulse to go back and check to see if anybody likes me is way higher when I make the video. When
Yeah,
you post it, I'm like, I'll check the next day and see, how did that post do?
yeah.
Right. And so for me, that's as embarrassing it is to admit, I find that I have less mental mind share on a singular post when someone else is doing it for me.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And just to touch on that, for example, I think most
FYI,
realtors.
that was your opportunity to say you're not the world's biggest narcissist,
Oh,
and you
sorry. Oops.
that's okay. Continue.
That'd be so
What
funny.
were you saying?
I was going to say that a lot of agents do a great job of posting on social media and then they get busy,
Yeah.
right? And that's when they stop and they're not active anymore and then they have these huge gaps and they have to start all over again to build momentum. So if you have a social media manager, you can fawn all over it when you have the time for it. And then when you are busy, we will keep posting for you. We're going to keep the lights on and people engaging and commenting so that when you do have time, you can come back to it. And I think that's one of the major values
Yeah.
that people get is like there's going to be a point where you're actually too busy to check it. You're too busy to rewrite everything. And so let's prepare for that day.
And the last part on this, and then we're going to talk a little bit about who can benefit from these services. Um, is we just talked about the caption copy, but what about replying to comments and replying to DMs? Like what happens there in your experience?
That's entirely up to the person's personal level of comfort.
Mhm.
So there's some simple questions like, what are your store hours? Obviously, we could respond that and answer it no problem. But if people are trying to make an appointment for you, or if they're inquiring about the cost of a listing that we've posted, I want you to make that connection as quickly as possible because that's a potential lead.
Mhm.
So that's another instance where it's really a good idea for you to be plugged in a little bit with your social, even though you're not managing it, is to capitalize on those opportunities when a connection is made that you could just like jump in and take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone's curious if they've ever had a comment reply or a DM reply from myself, that is me. Because
That's
I
you.
I
Yeah.
like to I love the idea of having the social media management piece because that gives me the consistency. frankly, you're just better at it than I am. But however, it's important to me at this stage in my career and business that I still maintain that connection with my clients. And so,
Absolutely.
I think that's important to note. And I will say, just in case someone says, yeah, but we also do use AI automations. So on occasion, we'll post something where people can snag a resource or something, and when that gets sent, that is 100% a robot.
Yeah.
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 If
But
I can give another tip just really
please.
quickly as well, I ask a lot of my clients, my real estate clients, to go in the stories and comment on the stories that they see in their account.
Mhm.
Those are usually their clients. And you'll notice whenever you reply to somebody's story, it actually goes in as a message and starts a conversation. So if you're
Mhm.
trying to stay top of mind with your clients, or you're trying to, grow your network or your referrals, going into the stories once a week or twice a week and commenting is really such a great, easy client touch that you can make. And the algorithms love it. And if you message somebody, they are more likely to see your next post. So it keeps your engagement flowing.
Yeah.
So that's another little homework activity that I would give realtors, that even if you have outsourced your social, it's still very valuable for you to go in and do some of that engagement work yourself.
I call that digital door knocking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
Amazing. Okay, so let's talk about who benefits from services like hiring a social media manager. And your answer can't be everyone, although that is my answer, because I want to break it down into a couple different groups. There are the people who have a. This is probably like level one. Let's assume everyone in these groups has a social media account.
Hmm.
And at level one, they do have the generic cartoon groundhog with the balloon on it. And then when you see the timestamp on that post, it's from 2018. So it's
Yeah.
or if you look at their account, it's just listed and just sold templates for days, right? Their whole grid is basically the same template.
Yeah.
Um, what is the next step for somebody like that? Like what could be the because we're obviously not going from zero to influencer.
Yeah.
What would you be helping someone in that's kind of in that level of comfort with their social?
Yeah. So if you're just a beginner, we want to start getting you posting content that people will save or share. So that can be listings all the time, but if you don't have listings right now, that means that's when you have to start sharing your community news or reviews that you have on products. I could give you a whole bunch of ideas, but that kind of content is what's going to get you in front of new people or build your relationships with your existing clients or keep you top of mind for referrals. If you're not posting, then you have no defensive strategy. And this other very engaging, personality rich realtor can be sharing fun things about construction in a neighborhood and steal your clients away. You have 5 years plus between the sale of listings that you need to keep that relationship warm. And so I think a lot of people post on social thinking that it's going to be directly for lead gen, but I see it as keeping those relationships with your client base and your sphere of influence strong and healthy, and keeping you top of mind. And so that content doesn't have to be cutting edge. It doesn't have to be super educational. It just has to be relevant enough for your audience to be interested to click the like button or comment on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as far as the second tier, which is probably where I think I would consider myself when we started working together. This is a person who, it posts probably without a strategy, because that definitely was me. Wasn't afraid of photos or videos. Still gets nervous. I still do get nervous. But like I would do it, but I wouldn't have. There was no strategy, no consistency, and so often like it's funny if people go far back on my Instagram, there's like the life before Katie Dempsey and there's the life after Katie Dempsey. And that's usually like the delineation between I'm like, oh crap, I haven't posted in a couple days. Oh, here's a cute photo of Mandy and I. And we just and so you look at the last 8
Yeah.
posts and 7 of them are selfies with my wife. Not horrible, but not really strategic, right? So,
Yeah.
so for that person, like they do log in, they are using social on a daily basis. What does it look like for them to take that first step with a social media manager?
So those are the people that I think starting with social is about building systems. So at first, let's just post and keep posting and keep posting. And then you're going to feel like, oh, there's some tension. Like I'm out of things to give my social media manager. And so now we have to start creating a plan.
Mhm.
Like, when are we going to do a photo shoot? How are you going to create content? Who are you going to give it to? And then the systems start happening so that it's more automated and you don't have to be involved in every step and you're more giving oversight and suggestions. Um, I feel like some people also don't necessarily know what their brand is. And for those people, we want to get posting and posting and get that content out. And then we look backwards. What did you post and talk about over the last couple of months? And you can start to deduce, like, oh, there's like real themes here. And that can help people even discover themselves. What are their unique selling points or the sweet spot that they like to work in? You start to see what is coming easiest,
Yeah.
and then those are things we can double down on in the future. So I would say system building and discovery, A/B testing, like those are all the things that we do for someone at that second level. Is what are their skill sets and what's going to be really easy to do and what's going to be more challenging. And like Braden, for yourself, you record your sales meetings every week, and so that was a really easy source of content for us at the beginning. You just gave us those videos and we were able to make those into reels. So it
Mhm.
was a system built on your existing habits,
Mhm.
and that was something easy to work with. And that helps us create a baseline and a foundation so that now we can get creative. What can we make it do on purpose now?
Mhm. Love that. And then let's talk about the level 3 person. So this is a person who they're actually succeeding with social media, right?
Yeah.
This is the person who either they've bought the camera and gear and have learned how to use it, or they have a great videographer. You know, they're probably laying out $1,000 a month or more in just having the media shot for them. You know, they enjoy writing their captions. They love posting it. That, you know, this is a person who's seeing growth on their account, etc. And I guess I don't want to assume that this person couldn't benefit from a social media manager, but let's talk about agents in that category. Like, can they benefit from working with a company like yours?
I think so. I think that person has mastered those processes of creating content and being on social often. So, like I was just saying, now what do we want it to do? So, I would say, let's say if you want to collect leads for um, first time home buyers, we would create a guide or something very low commitment where you can collect leads and email addresses if people are going to sign up for that. We can build a campaign around it and start a system where leads are coming in for that thing and it's optimized and they go to the website and they get a follow-up email or call. So you start to build those sales funnels on top of that. And then once that first time home buyer sales funnel is working and operating and flowing well on your social, now we can build another one for seniors who are downsizing. So
Sure.
we make a product for them and content for them and a campaign for that. And then that gets flowing. And
Yeah.
so once you have a couple of those inroads happening, you know, you're going to be such a powerhouse on social media. And I feel like a lot of people think that they're going to start posting tomorrow and that's what they're going to achieve are these massive sales funnel and workflows where leads are just climbing in. But you have to build that infrastructure. It's a skill set that you build.
Mhm.
And that starts building the first day that you start caring about your social and
Yeah.
doing it on purpose.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I want to just take a little bit of a sidestep from social for a second because you mentioned a few different things like creating a lead magnet, like a home buyer guide or something like that, creating sales funnels, a landing page. Brand Ambition does more than social media management. I suspect that's probably the main thing people are hiring you for. But could you maybe just give us a broader sense of what other help can you and your team do?
Um, we have all marketing services in-house, which is actually really valuable for our team because, for example, if our social media team learned that it's a really big commitment to get a real estate lead and that's really challenging, but we want to show our clients results. So maybe we could make a less smaller commitment item, like a free guide or an event or something like that, that we could put together, and then we can collect leads and show progress and success that way.
Mhm.
So even internally for us, our own team is leaning on each other and advising each other on what's valuable and what's strategic for people.
Yeah.
And that's the service that we would bring to any client that we work with. So instead of just hiring one person, you're hiring many experts in marketing. We have copywriters, designers, web people. So if you need to make one phone call to solve a problem in your business, we can help you do that.
Yeah.
But if it's just social media for now, that's totally fine. Our social team will advise you or give you input when there's an opportunity to do something new.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
but
absolutely. And just to again to shine a light on the work we've done, you've designed my branding for my business as well as the branding for my new program. Your team has done the graphic design work on almost like everything I've done, anything that I've done that you've seen anyone's seen online that's like a brochure, an ebook, a what have you, my slides, even for my sales meeting, your team has helped me with that. Um, we haven't gotten to the newsletter part yet, although you've asked me. I'm just busy. Okay, Katie, relax. But we can also help with that, and even my website, your team design. So it's nice to be able to have everybody in that same office that can kind of reference each other.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's good for agents as well who you want to do something, but you don't necessarily know what's involved in it. And so we can even just have a conversation about what it would take and how much it would cost. And it doesn't mean that you're making a commitment to do that. It helps you get your ducks in a row and say, is this the right time for me to build out this element of my business?
Yeah. Okay. Last 5 minutes. Are
All
you
right.
ready?
Yes.
Let's date this episode. So people have gotten to this point in the interview, and we haven't said a damn thing that would suggest what year this video is out. Now we're going to talk about stuff that your people are going to listen and be like, "What is this? Like they're talking about MySpace? Was this recorded in 2020, 2006?" So let's talk
Yeah.
about trends. What's on the horizon? Social media. What are you seeing right now? What's working? What was working that isn't working? And what's the hunch that you think might work next?
Okay, well, here's the big thing for I think a lot of realtors, which is trial reels. So, trial reels are a new Instagram feature which shows your reels only to people who are not following you yet.
Mhm.
And so this solves a big problem where if we're trying to scale an account quickly or we do a campaign where we're talking about something a lot, you don't want to exhaust your existing audience. You don't want them to know how much you're talking about this or how much you're posting it. So we can use trial reels. It's almost like a commercial that's going out to people who are not following you yet, and your followers cannot see it. So it's a really valuable tool.
Mhm.
I would also suggest that if you are never using trial reels ever, you might be signaling to the algorithms that you're not interested in growing your account. And so there's a little trickiness there where I feel like you should experiment with it occasionally just to signal that you are open to having new followers come on board. So flirt with trial reels.
I love that. And what was working that isn't anymore?
Definitely static post and caption is pretty much I don't want to say a dead post, but it's just not going out to new audiences. It's not on the explore feed. You've probably noticed that yourself, that sometimes you're posting a photo and a caption and it's getting 5 likes. And that could be really frustrating if you're paying for social media management and you're just like not seeing any results from that.
Yeah.
So you're really going to want to steer towards video. And the other alternative would be carousel posts. So, where you have multiple slides that people can swipe through. The swipe counts as an engagement. So, it looks like your post is getting a lot more activity.
Mhm.
You can also pair it with music, and that will put your post into the Reels feed. So, you're almost getting shown in two separate places.
Yeah.
So, video and carousels are the way to go if you want to be in front of new clients, if you want to be doing lead generation.
And if for example, it was just recently awards season, so a lot of people are getting photos with their awards and whatnot. So you have a photo, and it's an
Mhm.
award. but you're telling me don't post that photo and caption because it's going to be a womp womp result. Can I still post it?
Yep,
Or not?
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Let's remember that with all of these reels that we're putting out with that are really successful and getting a ton of views, our ultimate goal is that they're going to come to our profile and maybe click through to our website or press the message button or the follow button. So when they come to the profile, you still want them to see the award photo that's there.
Yeah.
And so you can replace your real cover art and put photos like that on it, or the static posts you could put there to kind of notify people or have keywords present on your profile when people drop in. So don't forget about that element of the process. Like, how does your profile look? And would that make somebody click the follow button?
Last question. What's next? What do you think?
For social media?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it could be anything, but my big advice to people is to start baby stepping your way into video. When I first started training people on social media, they were kind of just waiting for it to go away, and it never went away. And now the learning curve is just getting higher and higher and higher.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if you don't make that step into video and just get some basic skills to keep yourself at a benchmark of where things are, you could lose your footing and it will be very difficult to get back on. So I do encourage video. Don't let it intimidate you. There's lots of ways to baby step your way into it that will be comfortable, even if you don't love being on camera. And that's what we'll be looking at.
Love that. And if anyone's interested in chatting with Brand Ambition, what's the best way to connect with you?
We offer free consultations, so we can have a little chat like this, half an hour, to just talk about your business needs and brainstorm. Any information you take away from that, you can just have and do your best work with.
Yes.
And then we can quote on anything you like. But you can message us on Instagram or find us at brandambition.ca.
Love that. Wow, that almost sounded like an end of a jingle at brandambition.ca.
Yeah, I need music to go with that.
I need music with that. Oh, I have it's a sound effect. Oh no, that's a drum.
Oh, that was very impressive.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Katie, thank you so much. I mean this with all sincerity. I don't think there would be a Coach B without Brand Ambition and Katie. So thank you for all of the work you do to help me shine online, because people don't believe me when I say this, but I actually don't enjoy social media. I enjoy the results that it can create. I definitely enjoy helping people, and I know this is a way to help people, but the actual process of doing it, you've taken something off my plate that I really didn't enjoy doing and felt guilty that I wasn't doing it. And you've actually turned it into something that people ask me, what am I doing? Because they think it's working. So thank you.
Thank you for having us on the team, and we're a multiplier. So you give us a lot to work with, and so it's been really fun working on this account.
You might say not enough according to the post you put up yesterday. But, All right, Katie, thank you so much. Thank you for watching Breakthrough with Coach B. If you're ready to grow by letting go, check out our website, bradenwecroft.com, for all of our free and paid breakthrough resources. Your future self and your loved ones will thank you. All right, catch you in the next episode.